All right, guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. Gonna get into the tournament overview and course preview for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. But real quick, just to have it right off the bat, this is kind of like the 1 year anniversary of the DFS Open. I actually ended up doing the Arnold Palmer Invitational core plays video last year in a hotel. Made a little vacation out of the trip there, so just kind of a fun thing to look back at is kind of the DFS Open. Fun thing that everyone in the fantasy golf community got together, played some golf. You got Hazy there on the left-hand side of me while I was hitting range here. So just a fun thing to look back at. If you guys want to see this video, I'll have it in the link in the description below. But just kind of looking back at it, how I got onto this track is I always like to look back at the previous years to see, if they were successful DFS / fantasy golf weeks. And, over the last 3 years, this has been one of the easier tournaments, one of the easier ones to predict as well. Obviously, that's not going to be a true sign of what to expect, this year, but it is kind of one of those things that lets us know we were on the right track really the last 3 years, which had been successful weeks as a whole. But let's get into the course overview for the API here. All right, guys, so getting into it here, we'll just go ahead and get the course preview already pulled up. So as we can see, this tournament has actually played pretty difficult as a whole. Conditions are never really too bad, although when they play bad, like it did in 2020, it's probably 2018, as it did in like 2018 there, then yeah. Okay, so sorry, I got the years a little bit mixed up here. So in 2018, it played fine. Last year, it played bad, which is why the winning score was only -4. The cut line was -3, but the average cut line here, pull it over, is 2. The average cut line is 2. The average winning score is, 11 under par. That is not that good. So overall, we can see that this tournament does play a lot more difficult. And once again, you guys know I like to look at bogey avoidance just automatically when the tournament is going to play more difficult. In terms of making the cut, that's a stat that I like to look at, because obviously if players are not making bogeys, they're avoiding those bogeys, and they're a good stat fit all around that week, that's going to help their chances to make the cut. So just looking at the key stats overall, let's see here. If anything stands out for the players that made the cut, par 5 scoring really maybe potentially there. It's kind of popping a little bit there, but nothing too crazy other than that. Let's drop it down. We'll go into like top 25, and then as always, we'll go into top 12 or so. All right, so let's see here. So ball striking already starting to kind of separate itself. Potentially par 5 scoring as well. Obviously, if you're not making bogeys and you're taking advantage of the par 5s, you're setting yourself up, pretty well there. So that's kind of something to look at there. One thing that's starting to stand out here is the 200 plus yardage range. We can see that's already starting to be somewhat significant as opposed to the other ones here. So that might be a key stat that we look at as well. Let's see, anything else? No, but you guys, bogey avoidance typically, like, it falls off typically as you get lower down in place, in terms of like birdie or better percentage or birdie to bogey ratio start to pop more, and we're not seeing that just yet. Let's drop it down. We'll go to top 10 and see if there's any difference here. So yeah, bogey avoidance is actually really popping here for us. We start to see the plus 200 kind of fall off there when it gets to the top 10. So just in terms of making the cut, I think we'd want to look at that. That would make sense. And then nothing really too crazy otherwise. This really is a tournament where you just have to be playing good golf and hitting your shots is pretty much how it goes. We don't see driving distance over driving accuracy too much. It is a ball striking course, total driving and ball striking the ball very well. You're not making bogeys, and you're taking advantages of the par 5s. That's pretty much what we would want to be looking at. And then we'll just look at like the past winners, see what they've done. Oops. Let's see. There we go. First place. We'll just see kind of where they were best at. We can even use the graphic here. So obviously the scoring stats are obviously going to be really good at that. Stroke gain putting, We saw that obviously if a guy was having a great putting week, that's going to help them out. We see that be kind of the third most significant stat. And then strokes gained approach, strokes gained tee to green, that makes sense. Ball striking, not as big of a key stat, but it is more of a key stat over total driving. Par 5 scoring doesn't matter that much after that point. And then we see 175 to 150, and then that plus 200 yards range come into play as well. We don't really see driving distance over driving accuracy. Nothing really too much with scrambling. But yeah, we kind of get a good picture there. And I just, real quick, let's just pull it up. If it's going to play different, if it's going to play a little bit more difficult, we'll just look at that. So obviously last year it played much more difficult than it typically would. And we'll just take a quick peek at that to see, if that changed anything from what we normally see. So nothing too crazy right off the bat, but let's just drop down into like top 12 to see if there's any significant difference from what we saw earlier. So yeah, makes sense. Plays a little bit more difficult. Ball striking is going to be much more of a key stat. That makes a bunch of sense. Birdie avoidance obviously going to be a key stat there as well. Par 5 scoring did start to matter more with it playing a little bit more difficult. And then the yardage range just didn't matter as much. Maybe the tees were a slightly different location. Maybe they were, trying to limit the range there. But then we actually saw driving accuracy or just good drive percentage start to matter a lot more. Strokes gained approach a little bit more. Strokes gained off the tee a little bit more. Not that much of an emphasis on strokes gained putting. Very interesting there. And then just for comparison reasons, we'll click off of the 2020 year and then we'll look at the other 3 years just for comparison reasons, just to see, hey, if the weather's not going to be a factor, this is what we're going to be looking at. So as you guys can see, it kind of just balances out everything if the weather's not as much of a factor. But obviously, we do want to be looking at ball striking, total driving, strokes gained approach, strokes gained tee to green, bogey avoidance. And I think that par 5 scoring, if I want to do yardage range, I do think I'm going to end up on that plus 200 or more, just in terms of a player making the cut. I think that'll be something that we want to look at. So with that being said, let's look at the key stats really for which players would set up well here. I'm actually going to go ahead and select the ones that I want here. So we're going to keep total driving. We're going to keep ball striking. Here, let's move this graphic real quick for you guys so you guys can see what I'm selecting here. Look at that. All right, so actually, we'll keep strokes gained off the tee. So we give it some time to load there. So total driving, ball striking, definitely want to be looking at that. Strokes gained off the tee, want to be looking at that. Strokes gained approach, want to be looking at that. Scoring before cut, possibly. That'd be a stat maybe that we possibly would like to look at for this week. See anything else? Is there anything else I want to include in here? No, not just yet. Greens gained, that's fine. I'll add strokes gained tee to green. So now I'm going to go up to the top here. Got the categories that I want picked out. And now we're just going to sort it here by what I think is going to be the most key stat. So ball striking, I want someone that's going to be ball striking the ball very well. Going to go really just top 83. And then I want a player that's not making many bogeys. Those are going to be the top 2 stats that I really focus on right now. The top 100. So as you guys can see, not that many players qualify for this. So what we got, Terrell Hatton, hey, the winner, makes a lot of sense. Webb Simpson, he'd be a good fit. Jim Furyk, if he's in it, would be a good fit. Surprisingly enough, Will Gordon possibly, although I don't really trust that much. James Hahn as well. So maybe let's get off of bogey avoidance a little bit more, and we'll just pull in strokes gained tee to green. Do top 100 or so on that. And then we'll do a little bit of total driving. Factor that in a little bit. And let's see. Still a lot of players. I want to trim that down a little bit more. So let's see what we can do to trim it down. Maybe that plus 200 a little bit. Although, if a longer hitter off the tee is not doing that, it's whatever. then stroke skin approach, we'll trim that down a little bit as well. With this right now, I'm just trying to trim down the fat essentially to see which players are going to be, you know, some strong picks. So kind of trimmed it down a decent amount. So, you know, we don't have the finalized field just yet, but we know that Terrell Hatton's going to be in it. Kind of just get a good preview of who we're looking at overall. I hope Sam Burns is in this one. I think he'd be a good play. Grillo potentially would be a fine play if he's in it. Matthew Naismith, he'd be a fine play. Doug Gim, James Hahn, you know, probably some value plays in this upcoming tournament. Really just depends on the field. I know Jordan Spieth is back. Be interesting to see how he does in this event, but we kind of got a solid course preview there for the Arnold Palmer Invitational here, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, this is a thing that we do every Sunday. Be ready for the course preview picks tomorrow on Monday, and then Tuesday we'll be doing the core plays as always, and then also releasing the betting favorites. So definitely check out the coverage that we got for you guys every single day pretty much of fantasy golf for that week's tournament. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. Do appreciate that. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.